I think if I had to pick one book, I have one book left out of the 10. Hello everyone, I'm Jessica Nicole Dickerson, aka J&D, and welcome back to another video. So we are starting the unhaul journey on my channel. I've been talking about it, I've been giving tips on book buying advice that you guys have given me, all the mistakes I've made. So we're starting this journey together, and I thought a perfect way to kind of make sense of this is to pick 10 books that I would keep. So what are the books that I would keep if I wasn't a booktuber? And keep in mind that I actually have been collecting books even before becoming a booktuber. I had a bookshelf full of books that I did read, but I would probably read 12 books a year or 6 books a year, maybe 1 book a year back before I was a booktuber. And the first year I did booktube as like a full commitment hobby, I read 50 books a year, and then the last 2 years I've been reading 100 books a year. So that's why I'm trying to get my book buying under wraps. I have been reading a lot more books these past few years, hundreds of books. So I've accumulated hundreds of books, and I think it is time to just become a little bit more selective. I actually think I love the books that I decided to read slowly way more than the books that I power through just to get reviews up. And by all means, I did this to myself, so I'm not blaming any of you for this. Actually, you guys are the reason why I've really fallen in love with reading. But I definitely want to get back my agency and stop just buying books willy-nilly. I want my bookshelves to reflect the person I want to be. And though I do love rainbow bookshelves, they make me very happy and things like that, there are some books on here that are 3-star books that I might not reread again. And I just want to, you know, now that I have read a lot and I know what I love, I now want my bookshelves to reflect that. So I thought this would be the perfect experiment to see what are my top 10. If I can just pick 10, oh no, I'm so scared. I have so many series that I like that are like 4 or 5 books long, and it's like, well, you're taking up half my list, so So today I'm answering the question, what are my top 10? If I wasn't a booktuber, if I didn't want a collection of books, which I do, but if I didn't want it, what would be my top 10? And there are 2 books that come to mind immediately, which I'm gonna grab 1 second. So if you're new to my channel, you may not know this. If you are a regular of my channel, you will 100% know this. But my top 2 favorite books are Piecing Me Together by Renee Watson and The Poetics by Elizabeth Acevedo. So these are the 2 books that I really first saw myself in for the first time ever in reading. I, at the time, probably had read like The Fault in Our Stars and Divergent and lots of stories which I still see myself in Divergent. I still can see myself in that, but they never talked about the things that I felt. Like how Theo Samada really appreciates poetry and can really express herself through that, and how some people objectify her for her appearance. I felt very similar to her in her circumstance, and not having a lot of people to talk to about it, and wanting romantic relationships but not knowing how to really do them. I also felt really connected to Piecing Me Together because this is a story about a girl who went to a primarily white school, and she was looked on differently by her teachers and friends, and how she struggled to have friends that understood her. Very much my experience, and I think I'm gonna make like a whole video of why I love YA so much. I feel like a lot of people and the trolls tend to comment about how I don't read enough literature, but in my life these books really reflect a lot of my experiences, which I'm sure there's a lot of great classic literature that also talks about things that are important. Don't get me wrong, I loved Native Son, I loved Animal Farm. Those ideas are still crucial and important, but I also think it's so important to know and kind of see yourself represented in books. That's a whole other video that I could talk about, but these 2 are definitely my top 2. So if I had to go backpacking for a year, I would get these 2 books. If my house was on fire, I would grab these 2 babies right here, and I would literally, okay, I don't want them to all burn, but if I had to, these 2 would be coming home with me. They have just made me really fall in love with writing. Also, I think they're both written really well. I think of them so fondly. I can't not have them. They are my favorites. I think everyone should read them. they just are so meaningful to me. Okay, the other 8 books are going to be really hard to pick, so I can feel it in my chest. My chest hurts already. Another series that I really love, let me grab. I don't know if it's in my top 10, but I want to grab it. I also apologize if the lighting changes. The sun is setting, so oopsies. But this is a series I saw myself in as a mayor. I saw myself wanting to be powerful, wanting to be loved, not really understanding or being understood by her family members, which all teens go through at some point, or young adults, where it's like you're striving for something and people don't just see it yet, and it takes a while. It takes a lot of communication to build that, but at first you're just like, I'm stuck. I don't like how my future's shaping up to be. I feel ostracized. But then she gets her own agency, quite literally the ability to shoot lightning. Like, very cool. This was just my first high fantasy, and it means a lot to me, and I see myself as mayor. And for some reason, when I read books and the character is told to be tan, like their description is someone who is tan, I think my skin color, but I guess that's not accurate. So I actually thought she was supposed to be brown, but she's not. She's tan. But I don't know what's tan to you guys. I get very confused with that word, because I'm like, tan's my skin color, right? Like, I always get quite confused, but I always saw myself as mayor. So I think I would just take this, but I don't know if I would just take the first one, because the first one isn't actually my favorite one, to be honest. I think my favorite one is probably the second one. I don't know. No, not the second one. The third one. The third one. Because after she gets kidnapped for a while and is like dealing with her PTSD, ooh, she goes crazy. It's great. So this is a maybe third book. I will reflect. You're gonna notice that I pick a lot of contemporary. I just feel it, because fantasy series are way too long. Like An Ember in the Ashes is another favorite of mine, but that's 4 books that I don't want to take up 4 spots on my very limited list. I don't know, maybe I'll just take those out from the library. Okay. I have another 2 favorites of mine that I talk about all the time. It is Harbor Me by Jacqueline Whitson, which is like one of my favorite middle grades. It's about 7 students, all of different ethnicities and like privilege levels in classes, like the class system. Some of them are more poor than others, so they all have very varying views of the world, but they're all in this special needs class, and I was in my special needs classes too, because I'm dyslexic. So they formed a safe group where they can actually just talk to each other about the world, and it's just so beautiful how all these kids are trying to figure out themselves and figure out other views and why people think the way they think. It's just super impactful in my opinion. And then the next one is American Panda by Gloria Chow, which is another favorite of mine. Gloria Chow, awesome writer. She also wrote Rent a Boyfriend, which is more of a kind of romantic new adult story about 2 college students, but this one is specifically about a girl who's afraid of being disowned by her parents. They want her to be a doctor, so she goes to MIT. She's taking doctorate classes, like not doctorate, but she's taking classes that involve maybe blood, lots of science stuff, and she wants to be a dancer and she doesn't know what to do. Her brother was already disowned by her parents and she's very scared of that. But again, this book does a great job of also illustrating the parents' point of view, what the parents are trying to achieve. They're trying to push their kids to have a better life than them. It's so good, so impactful, and it's also very romantic, very mushy, because she ends up falling in love with someone, but he doesn't give her her agency. She finds her own agency in trying to not defy her parents, but just trying to live her best life and get her parents to understand that. These 2 are definite faves, and I think about them all the time. A book similar to American Panda is A Taste for Love. This is also very cute by Jennifer Yang. I'm not gonna put this as my top favorite just because this is like a Pride and Prejudice retelling. It's not like my absolute favorite. This was like a 4-star. I like it. Very similar to American Panda in the sense that your parents are pushing an idea on you of you need to get married, you need to have this perfect job and all this stuff. So if you liked how American Panda sound, you may also love this book, which was I think published this year. Oh, I remember what I was gonna do. This is gonna seem stupid. Okay, so I have 5 books right now in my pile. Ugh. Okay. I have 3 books here. And this might seem a little ridiculous. I don't know if I'm gonna do all 3, but I definitely at least have to do Batman by Mary Lou. I love DC. Don't get me wrong, DC movies sometimes are trash. Like, let's be honest, the MCU is impeccable. They know how to cast, they know how to write impactful stories. It's just, they got it all good. Whereas DC is still working on their live action movies. And y'all keep working on it because I'm waiting. I want some good movies besides the Batman trilogy. Besides that, let's see it. Come on. But I love DC. I love DC Comics, DC animated films, animated TV shows, besides Young Justice and Teen Titans, League of Superheroes. There's so many, Batman Beyond. There's so many good DC animated content out there. And when I heard that DC was writing books, I was like, but these are so good. I'm so nostalgic for them. I love them so much. I reread them every year. They're so much fun, and I at least need to keep Batman Nightwalker by Mary Lou because it's just so fun. It's such a fun twist on traditional like superheroes, and I think that's where DC movies get it wrong. They keep telling us the same story. They don't add flair or flavor or a new lens. These added a new lens, and I think, am I gonna get all 3? I'm gonna put all 3. I really enjoyed all 3 of them. Ooh, but then I would lose so many spots. I think I'm gonna put Batman. I'm gonna put Batman down for sure. How many books I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I have 6 books. Let's see what else I pick. Oh no, I'm getting scared. Like, I don't know if it's smart to do the first book in a series, because like The Last Magician is also a book that I love. Urban fantasy, magicians, magical powers. Do I need the first book though in my hands? I don't think so. Whereas Red Queen is just more nostalgic-y, which makes me just so happy. Last Magician does make me happy, but not as much. I'm rambling, I'm sorry. Okay, I might, ooh, this is hard. Okay, so back in the day when I really wasn't a reader and my dyslexia shame was at its highest, I was forced to read by my mom The 5 People You Meet in Heaven and City of Ember, which are 2 favorite books of mine. They're also very short. This one's by Mitch Albom. I don't actually have a copy of City of Ember. Is that what it's called? I don't have a physical copy of it. I eventually would like to purchase that in the whole series and continue it because I've only read the first one. But I think I will include The 5 People You Meet in Heaven just because of the concept. It's just really fun. It's another book that I reread a lot. The writing style is good, and I totally stole this from my high school, from my mom's class. But basically this is a story about a man who dies and he talks to 5 people in heaven. The concept is really cool. It's a very engaging short read. I haven't read it for a few years, so I'd love to reread this. Okay, so this is book 7. Again with the fantasy, it's so hard because it's a series and it's going to take up too much space on my 10. I only have 3 spots left. Oh, this is starting to hurt. Oh god. Okay, I have 3 books left out of the 10, and I have 4 books here that are all kind of on the same level. I have 2 happy romantic books and 2 they're both middle grade actually. Fun. 2 middle grade books that discuss like deeper things. So the first one is The Skin I'm In by Sharon G. Flake. This is a great story about a girl who learns to love herself, learns what real friends are. She gets bullied a lot for her like dark skin and her big hair, and she's like a curvaceous girl. So a lot of people make fun of her, and she learns what real friends are and how to stand up for herself. And I remember really enjoying this. I actually bought the sequel novel. It's a companion novel, so that isn't on this stack just because I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure it's gonna be so amazing. So this was really impactful to me, and I've read it 3 years ago, and I frequently think about it and recommend it as a great middle grade. Another one by Kekla Magoon is The Rock and the River. So this is a story of a family in 1960 Chicago. His brother is in the Black Panther movement, and his dad is a civil rights activist. So 2 very contradicting ideas, and the boy is kind of stuck thinking, what's right and what's wrong, the want to make the world a better place, but how can you make the world a better place? It's such a great story. So these two are definitely really impactful, and I think they have to go on the top 10. They just have to. Oh, this part's hard, because actually, if I'm being honest, so I have two, I could easily grab more. Oh my god, I didn't even grab Strange the Dreamer, guys. I'm crazy. This is nuts. But I don't think I would need Strange the Dreamer. That's more of a recent favorite. Ugh, this is so hard. Okay, so these three are all romantic stories that I love for different reasons, and I would put them in my top 10, but I don't even have space. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have one more spot left in my stack, and I have 3 books. Oh no. Okay, well, I'll tell you why one of these would go on my spot. So first is Somewhere Only We Know by Maureen Gu, which is the perfect, cheesiest romantic book, and I've loved it ever since I first read it. This book made me buy all of Maureen Gu's work. I love her writing style. It's about a K-pop star and paparazzi. They meet in Hong Kong and they have a wild night together. It talks about love, but it also talks about career and chasing your dreams, fear, and the risk of trying something different. See, now I thought of a different cheesy book that would be perfect. Oh, another one would be I Want to Be Where You Are, which is such a phenomenal book. I don't think it's as good as maybe these three, but this one's about a girl who wants to be a ballerina and a guy, and it's kind of friends to enemies to lovers. They used to be friends. She's hit the fan, then they become enemies, and then she needs to go to this dance tryout that's like, I want to say hours away from her hometown, and her enemy decides like to hop in and be like, I'll give you a ride or else I'm gonna get you in trouble, and she's like, fine, I guess you can come. And they go across country to this audition, and it's just really, really fun and romantic. Another romantic book. I love romance, I'm sorry. And these are YA romance, so they're not smutty, they're just cute, and they talk about life. The next one is a Pride and Prejudice remix by Ibiza Boy called Pride. This one's so great. It talks about gentrification, sister love, wanting agency and a higher education so you can, you know, have a better life, that you can empower yourself. Such a good book, but also, again, very much Pride and Prejudice. The story of falling in love with your enemy, enemies to lover, all that stuff. But I just like it because it's grounded in the reality of a girl who lives in Brooklyn and sees that gentrification's happening and all that stuff, and still wanting to go to college, and still wanting to have a better life. Oh, so good. Last one is super phenomenal, a recent favorite of mine, All the Things We Never Knew by Leora Tamani, I think is how you say her name. Phenomenal book. Do you see this aesthetic? The romance is real, but this is actually probably the best representation of romance out of all these YA books that I've mentioned, because the ending is not what you think. It is not about black trauma either, which is phenomenal. It is about their personal strife. The male protagonist in this, his mom died in child labor, so there's a lot of self-destructive thoughts while he is trying to, you know, play basketball and live his life. He's really struggling, him and his dad, to move forward past this traumatic event. And the girl, she's trying to figure herself out. She's on the basketball team, but she kind of doesn't want to play basketball, and she also has some medical emergencies and some scares, but also her parents are divorcing, so eek. Lots of tension and family dynamics in this, whilst also them being really romantic and really cheesy. I think if I had to pick one book, I have one book left out of the 10. I think it's between these two, because I think these are more unique than these. And honestly, if I have to be really, really honest, it would have to probably be this one, because it's so unique and it's realistic, and it just makes me think about more than just romance. It makes me think about life in such a different way. Okay, so I have my stack of 10. If I could only have 10 books, these would be the ones that I physically own. And I told you there's the top 2. So quickly, I have All the Things We Never Knew by Leora Timani. Next is Keklin Magoon's The Rock and the River. The Skin I'm In by Sharon G. Flake. The Five People We Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. Batman Nightwalker by Mary Lou. Harbor Me by Jacqueline Woodson. American Panda by Gloria Chow. Piecing Me Together by Renee Watson. Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This is probably the only one that may not actually be the top 10, but just the most nostalgic. Ugh. It's hard. This could honestly be replaced with An Ember in the Ashes or The Last Magician, but I think I'm just gonna stick with the Red Queen because that series just means a lot to me. It was the first high fantasy I ever read, so yeah, Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. And lastly, The Poetics by Elizabeth Acevedo. No one is surprised by me wanting this on the top 10. So that's really just putting me in perspective that all these books are not necessary. Honestly, I'm not judging anybody for the amount of books they have. I have over 300. I am not putting any pressure on you to donate all of your books. I'm not going to donate all these books. There are so many books here that I love and treasure, but there's also a lot that I don't feel excited for because I've owned them for many, many years and my reading tastes have evolved a lot. So I think this was a fun kind of challenge just to ground myself and remind myself that books are not my personality. My bookshelf does not need to be aesthetically pleasing. This is all a reminder for me. I'm not calling out anyone. It's for myself to realize that, you know, what's important to me. And I think the important thing is the way I feel towards these books is how I want to feel towards all of my books. And it's going to take time and really some deep reflection. I also realize my privilege in having all these books. So I'm so grateful for my book collection, for you guys, for the many jobs that I've had over the years that allowed me to purchase all these books. But yeah, I feel good, and I'm actually going to hop right into unhauling things. So if you see me in the same outfit from many videos, apologies. If you made it to the end of this video, comment down below this emoji so I know you are the real MVP. If you like my channel, make sure to check out my Patreon. The link is down below. I have tons of extra videos on there, weekly updates, posts that I don't do on Twitter or Instagram. So if you want to support me, go check it out, maybe. No pressure. If not, if you like this video, just give it a thumbs up and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on my next unhauls. It's going to be quite a journey. I'm really cleansing my bookshelf. I'm definitely about to bring a ton of unhaul content to y'all, so stay tuned. I hope this video gave you a little bit more sunshine, and I will see you in the next one.